Bismillah, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulullah. My brothers and sisters, I want to share with you one reminder today. One reminder that if you take it to heart will transform your life. It's a simple truth, yet it holds the key to peace in your heart, success in your deeds, and blessings in your journey. That reminder is Allah is always with you. No matter where you are, no matter what you are going through, Allah is closer to you than your own jugular vein. When you feel lost, He sees you. When you feel broken, He hears you. When you feel unworthy, He still loves you. Let's break this down into 5. Allah knows your pain even when no one else does. Sometimes we go through things that we can't even put into words. We try to explain, but no one really understands. We look around for comfort, but people are too distracted with their own struggles. And in those moments, Shaitan creeps in, whispering, "No one cares about you. No one sees what you're going through." But that's not true. Allah sees you. You know, one of the most powerful names of Allah is Al-Basir, the all-seeing. He sees the tear before it falls, the heartbreak before you even express it. He sees the weight you're carrying, even when you smile in front of others, pretending that everything is fine. And He is Ash-Shafi, the ultimate healer, the one who doesn't just recognize your pain, but also has the power to remove it. Think about Maryam alayhi salam, a woman of complete devotion, yet she found herself alone, in pain and overwhelmed. She was carrying a child, and the world was ready to judge her before they even heard her story. She reached a breaking point where she cried out, "I wish I had died before this and was long forgotten." But what happened next? Allah didn't just leave her in her grief. He responded. A stream of water appeared, dates fell from the tree, and Allah reassured her, "Do not grieve." Quran 19:24. How many times have you felt like you couldn't take it anymore, like the pain was just too much, and yet here you are. Allah carried you through it. The moments you thought would break you, He pulled you through. The nights you cried into your pillow, He heard every sob. The times you thought no one cared, He was watching over you, waiting for you to turn to Him. And this is what makes our relationship with Allah so different from our relationships with people. People listen to respond, Allah listens to heal. People forget your pain, Allah never does. People get tired of hearing you complain, Allah loves when you call upon Him. You don't have to hold it all in. You don't have to pretend to be strong. Allah already knows what's in your heart, so talk to Him, cry to Him, even if you can't find the words. Just sit in suhood and let your heart speak. Because the one who created you understands you better than you understand yourself. Key takeaways: every dua you make is heard, even the ones you think are unanswered. There are moments in life when you raise your hands and it feels like your dua is just floating in the air, unanswered. You keep asking, you keep begging, but nothing changes. And in those moments, Shaitan whispers, maybe Allah isn't listening, maybe He doesn't care, maybe your dua just doesn't matter. But Allah hears you. One of the most beautiful reminders in the Quran is when Allah says, "When my servant asks you concerning me, I am near. I respond to the call of the supplicant when they call upon me." Quran 2:18-6. Do you realize that in this ayah, Allah doesn't say if my servant asks about me. He says when. Meaning it's not a question of if you will call upon Him, it's a certainty that at some point in your life you will, and when you do, His response is guaranteed. But the response of Allah doesn't always come in the way we expect. Sometimes He gives you exactly what you ask for, sometimes He delays it for a better time, and sometimes out of His mercy, He withholds it because it's not what you need. Think about the mother of Musa. Imagine the moment when she placed her baby in the river, making dua that Allah would protect him. From her eyes, it must have felt like she was losing everything. But what she didn't see was that the very water she feared was carrying her son toward his destiny. The same river that could have drowned him was actually leading him to the palace where he would be raised under the care of Allah. How many times in your life have you prayed for something and felt like Allah wasn't answering, only to realize years later that He was guiding you to something far greater? Maybe you asked for a job and didn't get it, but Allah was protecting you from a toxic workplace. Maybe you prayed for a relationship to work, but Allah knew it would have broken you. Maybe you made dua for ease, but Allah gave you a trial that strengthened you in ways you never imagined. The Prophet said there is no Muslim who calls upon Allah with a dua that contains no sin or breaking of family ties except that Allah gives him one of three things. He either grants what he asked for, stores it for him in the hereafter, or averts an equal evil from him. Ahmad, that means every single dua you've ever made is somewhere, none of them are wasted. Either you will see them manifest in this life, or you will arrive on the day of judgment and find mountains of blessings stored for you, blessings you never even realized were coming from the duas you thought were unanswered. And think about this, sometimes the answer to your dua isn't just in receiving what you asked for, but in the transformation that happens within you while you're waiting. Maybe Allah is teaching you patience, maybe He's purifying your heart, maybe He's pulling you closer to Him in ways that wouldn't have happened if He gave you what you wanted right away. So don't stop making dua, even if you don't see the answer, even if it takes years, even if you feel like nothing is changing, because the moment you call upon Allah, something is already in motion. The skies are shifting, the angels are recording, and your Lord is responding in ways beyond your imagination. Allah sees your smallest efforts even when no one else appreciates them. There are times when you do something good and no one notices. You put in effort, you try your best, you go out of your way to be kind, to be generous, to be patient, and it feels like no one even cares. No one says thank you. No one acknowledges the sacrifice. And in those moments, Shaitan whispers, "What's the point? Why keep trying when no one appreciates you?" But Allah sees you. One of the most comforting names of Allah is Ash-Shakur, the most appreciated. Think about that for a moment. People forget, people overlook, people take things for granted. But Allah never lets even the smallest effort go to waste. The Prophet told us about a man who removed a thorn from the road. Just a small act, something most people wouldn't even think twice about. And because of that one simple deed, Allah forgave him and entered him into Jannah. Now, ask yourself, if a single act, as small as removing a thorn, can lead someone to paradise, then what about all the unseen good that you do every day? The times you bite your tongue instead of saying something hurtful, the nights you push yourself to pray even when you're exhausted, the money you give in charity even when you barely have enough for yourself, the moments you hold back tears trying to be strong for others. Allah sees it all. Even when no one thanks you, even when people take you for granted, even when it feels like your efforts go unnoticed, Allah is recording everything. The late-night study sessions, the work you put into your family, the hours spent taking care of loved ones, the pain you endure with patience, the kindness you show when no one is looking. And the beauty of Allah's appreciation is that it's not like human appreciation. People might thank you today and forget tomorrow. But when Allah appreciates you, He stores your deeds for you in ways beyond what you can imagine. He multiplies them. He turns them into blessings in this life. He converts them into mountains of reward in the next. And the most beautiful part? Sometimes the struggle itself is the reward. Think about the woman who gave water to a thirsty dog. It was just a moment of mercy. But in that one moment, she connected with one of Allah's attributes, Ar-Rahman, the most merciful. And because of that one moment, Allah forgave her and granted her Jahman. Now imagine all the little moments of mercy, patience, and sincerity that you have every single day. Imagine how many of those moments are being written in your favor. This is why the Prophet said, "Do not belittle any good deed." Muslim, because with Allah, nothing is insignificant, nothing is wasted, nothing goes unnoticed. So keep going, keep doing good, even when no one claps for you, even when no one recognizes your sacrifices. Because while people may forget, Allah never does. And one day when you look back, you will realize Allah was answering you all along. The hardship you face today is shaping you for something greater. There are moments in life when the pain feels unbearable, the hardship feels never-ending. You look around and wonder, why me? Why now? Why is this happening? And in those moments, Shaitan whispers, maybe this is a punishment. Maybe Allah has abandoned you. Maybe you're not strong enough to get through this. But Allah does not burden a soul beyond what it can bear. What you are facing right now is not meant to break you. It is meant to build you. It is shaping you in ways you don't yet understand. It is preparing you for something greater. Look at the stories of the greatest people who walked this earth. The prophets, peace be upon them all, were the most beloved to Allah. Yet they faced the hardest trials, not because Allah was punishing them, but because He was elevating them. Think about Yusuf alayhi salam. As a child, he was thrown into a well, sold into slavery, imprisoned for a crime he didn't commit. If you paused the story there, you might think, where is the justice? Where is Allah's mercy? But what Yusuf alayhi salam didn't realize in those moments of suffering was that every hardship was taking him one step closer to something greater. If he had never been thrown into the well, he would have never reached the palace. If he had never been imprisoned, he would have never become a leader. The pain you feel today may be the very thing that leads you to your greatest blessings. Think about Maryam alayhi salam. She was alone in pain carrying a child while the world judged her without knowing her story. She reached a breaking point and cried out, "I wish I had died before this," and was long forgotten. Quran 19:23. But what did Allah do? He didn't abandon her. He provided her with water, with food, with reassurance, and she went on to be remembered not as someone forgotten, but as one of the greatest women to ever live. How many times have you gone through something and thought, "I can't handle this," but somehow you did? Somehow Allah carried you through. The hardship that once felt impossible became a distant memory. This is the way Allah works. He doesn't just remove the hardship, He transforms you through it. He strengthens you, He purifies you, He teaches you patience, resilience, and trust. And sometimes the hardship itself is the answer to your dua. Maybe you asked Allah for strength and He gave you a test that made you stronger. Maybe you asked for success and He gave you struggles that built your resilience. Maybe you asked for closeness to Him and He gave you a hardship that brought you to your knees in dua like never before. The Prophet said, when Allah loves a servant, He tests him, not to harm him, not to punish him, but to elevate him. And so whatever you are going through right now, know this: it is not the end of your story. It is a chapter of your journey, and just like every test in the past that you thought you wouldn't survive, but did, this too shall pass. And when it does, you will look back and realize, Allah was shaping me for something greater all along. If you have Allah, you have everything. There are times in life when you feel empty, when the people you depended on disappoint you, when the things you chased after fail to fulfill you, when you get everything you thought you wanted, and yet something still feels missing. And in those moments, Shaitan whispers, "You are alone, no one truly cares, you are not enough." But the truth is, if you have Allah, you have everything.